Hello, this is Jessie with Jessie at Home, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make the linen stitch. In this video I will be using this blue yarn, which is actually Red Heart with Love. Okay, this is the label, just a different color, but same yarn. And the first thing, linen stitch is also called a moss stitch. Okay, some people call it one, some people call it the other. There's no difference. It's the same stitch, two different names, and I am showing you the crochet version of the linen stitch or the moss stitch. When you want to use whichever yarn you've chosen, you want to use the hook that works well with that yarn. Okay, in this case, to show you what I'm doing, I'm actually using a K hook, which is a little bit bigger than what I would normally use with this yarn. I would probably normally use like an I hook, but I'm using one that's a little bit bigger just so you can see a little better. Now, when you make the starting chain for a linen stitch or a moss stitch, I actually like to use a hook that's 1 or 2 sizes smaller than I'm using for the rest of the stitch, because the starting chain, if you use the same size hook, ends up being too long. And I tried doing it where I made the starting chain with a bigger hook and not skipping a stitch. You'll see what I mean in a minute. But I found that when I did that, it looked really loopy and bad. So then I tried making the starting chain with a smaller hook and found that it pretty much solved the problem. So to start off, to make the linen stitch, you need to start with, a linen stitch is worked over an even number of stitches. So we're going to start with an even number of chains. In this case, let's do 10. Okay, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So those are the 10 chains that we're working into. The linen stitch starts with a single crochet, and so you need a chain 1 for your turning chain. Alright, and I'm just going to do this on the row that I work into the chains. So I have my 10 chains to start with, and then I'm making 1 chain 1 for my turning chain, and now I'm switching to my regular hook. So this chain that I just made is my turning chain. I'm going to ignore it, pretend it doesn't exist. I'm going to put a single crochet in each of the next 2 chains. Okay, so you can see I'm ignoring the turning chain and I'm starting in the next chain, and I'm putting a single crochet into 1, 2. Okay. Now the rest of the row is going to be a simple repeat. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet all the way across. So chain 1, skip 1, single crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet, and you can see that's the very last stitch, last chain that we have that we're working into. Okay, so now the next row I'm going to show you is going to be the row that you repeat until this piece is as big as you need it to be. You simply turn, okay, and now you can do that starting chain. Some people choose to omit it. Most of the time I do omit it after the first row, but I'll put it in here for the tutorial just so you can see. There's your turning chain if you want it, and then you're going to single crochet into the first stitch, and you're going to single crochet into the chain 1. Then chain 1, single crochet into the next chain. Chain 1, single crochet into the next chain. You see you're skipping over the single crochets and working into the chains. Chain 1, single crochet into the next chain. Chain 1, when you get to the end of the row, your last single crochet will go into this single crochet. Remember we started with 2 single crochets? So here's the second one that we made, here's the first one we made, that's what we're working our last stitch into. Right there. Turn. Now again, if you want a chain 1 for your start, for your turning chain, put it in now, then single crochet into the first stitch, single crochet into the turning chain, into the chain 1, sorry about that. Now chain 1 and single crochet into each chain 1 across. Then I'll show you like 2 rows without, oops, look at that, talking and I missed my chain in between the singles, I'll show you a row or two without the turning chain in case you just want to see. Because after the first row, after that first row that's worked into the chain stitches, I really do consider that turning chain optional when you have single crochets. So let me show you. If I'm going to make this without a turning chain, all I'm going to do is make sure that this loop is a tiny bit taller than it normally would be. And I'm just going to work my first single crochet right there. And then my next single crochet goes into the chain 1 space, chain, single crochet into the chain 1, chain, single crochet into the chain 1, chain, all the way across, and last single crochet goes into this single crochet over here, turn, and again make that loop a little taller than I normally would, not much, just a little bit, single crochet into the first stitch, single crochet into the chain 1, chain, single crochet into the chain, all the way across. I'll finish this little row and then I'll just show you the tiny bit of difference that it makes. And it's all a matter of what you're comfortable with and what makes you happy. Okay, so you see here, you see there's this little loopy bit and there's not one here. Let me try to get some of these. Okay, so I mean either way it's a pretty straight side, but this little loopy thing is what happens when you have those chains, those turning chains, which is why I prefer to do them without the turning chains. I find that the edge is a little straighter. And with a single crochet, you can totally get away with omitting the turning chain. So that part is up to you, but you can see now the linen stitch or the moss stitch. You see how the single crochets are worked into the chains, and it gives this really nice texture. And when you're working with a lighter yarn, a much lighter yarn, so for instance, I love to do the linen stitch with baker's cotton. It works beautifully, and I have several of those. I have several patterns where I use the linen stitch with the baker's cotton. There's one that's up on redheart.com called the, I think they call it the warm weather wrap, that uses baker's cotton, and then I have a kerchief and a t-shirt up on my blog that use the baker's cotton and the linen stitch. The fabric that it makes just moves so nicely and it looks so pretty. It's a great stitch, but it's really, really simple to make. So there you have the linen stitch. So now you are ready to create some really nice pieces using this new stitch of yours. Thank you.